Today was the beginning of former officer Johannes Messerly's preliminary hearing. The courtroom was packed with extra security on hand, while outside, loud protest with the victim's supporters demanding justice. We have live team coverage for you tonight. KTV's Jesse Gary has more on what happened on the courthouse steps, but let's begin with David Stevenson and more on today's hearing. David?
Dacia, the day began as the judge in this case disqualified, or that is denied the request by Johannes Messerly's defense team to disqualify the prosecutor from trying Messerly because of concerns that they tried to improperly question him. With that out of the way, that cleared the way for this hearing to begin. On this first day of testimony, Karina Vargas told the court it did not appear Oscar Grant was struggling with BART police in the moments before he was shot on the platform of the Fruitvale station. She said, quote, "From what it looked like to me, he was cooperating." Vargas filmed much of the chaos on that New Year's morning with her cell phone and told the court she saw a number of officers wielding taser guns. Messerly's lawyers contend he thought he was firing his taser into Grant's back. Margarita Crizal testified about seeing Grant physically escorted out of the BART train by a BART police officer, saying, quote, "The cop comes inside and pulls Oscar against the wall, and that's when I grabbed my camera and began recording." In this exclusive video, Johannes Messerly is seen leaving the court after today's hearing. During the hearing, he stared down at the defense counsel table as Crizal's video showed him firing a round into Grant's back. Legal analysts say his attorney today gave hints about the direction his defense will take.
They were talking about the position of Oscar's body at the time. Was he lifting the shoulder at the time? So what they were implying was, did it look to Messerly as if he was resisting, as if he was reaching for a weapon?
I didn't pay much attention to Messerly, because when I look at him, I see Oscar.
Oscar Grant's family is suing Messerly, two other officers, BART and the agency's chief of police, for $50 million. Grant's mother was too distraught to speak to reporters. His uncle said the family is preparing for a difficult trial.
It's very painful each time I look at the video, and I'm sure for the rest of the family it's very painful. But we know this is something we have to go through at this time to get justice for Oscar.
Court is set to resume tomorrow at 9 a.m. Now, coming up at 6 o'clock, we have an exclusive interview with one of the Oscar Grant shooting witnesses who's expected to testify in court this week about what he heard and saw early New Year's Day. For now, reporting live in Oakland, David Stevenson, KTVU, Channel 2 News.
Video evidence moved front and center in court today as a hearing got underway to determine whether a former BART police officer will stand trial on murder charges. The New Year's Day shooting of Oscar Grant was captured on numerous cell phone cameras, and as KTVU's Rita Williams reports, the people who recorded those images figure prominently in this preliminary hearing.
Former BART police officer Johannes Messerly, out on $3 million bail and wearing a bulletproof vest, was surrounded by deputies, bodyguards, his attorney, and parents as he left an Oakland courtroom today.
Step inside, please.
For 4 hours, he had sat stoically listening to the beginning of a hearing to see if there's enough evidence to try him for murder.
They're pulling these boys out of the train in front of our train.
The first witness prosecutors called was Karina Vargas. She repeated what she told us shortly after the New Year's Day shooting, that she didn't know Oscar Grant, but turned on her camera because she thought police, quote, were being too rough with him.
He puts his hands up right here. They're telling the cops, they're all being cooperative, they're all telling the cops, okay, and they're just sitting down.
She turned her camera to an arrest at her side, then heard a gunshot. As the tape of the shot played in court today, Vargas wiped tears from her eyes, and family members of 22-year-old Oscar Grant, the unarmed man killed by the shot, cried.
It's very painful. But we know this is something we have to go through at this time to get justice for Oscar.
Under cross-examination, Karina Vargas said after firing his gun, Messerly put his hands to his head and, quote, looked dumbfounded and in shock. A second woman on BART who also took video said she didn't see that reaction from Messerly.
The people that took the videos, when asked, why did you take them? Because what I saw happening was wrong, so I started the camera rolling. We are in a different age and time when it comes to law enforcement.
Justice for Oscar Grant! Justice for Oscar Grant!
While demonstrators rallied outside side, inside court. The doctor who performed the autopsy on Oscar Grant said the single gunshot entered from the left side of his back and almost exited his right chest. Former Officer Meserly's defense is expected to be that he mistakenly fired his gun instead of his taser. The preliminary hearing, which continues here tomorrow, is expected to last 2 weeks. Then Judge C. Don Clay will decide if there's enough evidence to try Johannes Meserly for manslaughter or murder for shooting Oscar Grant. In Oakland, Rita Williams, KTVU, Channel 2 News.
From David, now we go live to KTVU's Jesse Gary for more on the protests that happened outside the courthouse today. Jesse?
Frank, the emotion inside the courtroom was matched by drama and emotion outside of it. Dozens of Oscar Grant supporters rallied for justice. Outside the Alameda County Courthouse in Oakland today, dozens of demonstrators played their part in the community's search for justice in the Oscar Grant case.
This is murder, first-degree murder, premeditated murder. This cop should not have a license to kill simply because he has a badge.
Carrying signs and chanting familiar phrases, those assembled say the fate of this case may rest on relentless pressure on the criminal justice system.
We realize today that in order for us to secure justice, there has to be community involvement.
Former BART police officer Johannes Meserly is charged with murder in the New Year's Day shooting of Grant on a BART train platform. Video from bystanders is central in the case.
To sit and watch your loved one be murdered touches the soul in a way that's just unexplainable. It's pain every time I see that video.
While the proceedings convened inside, outside, demonstrators continued calls for transparency and, ultimately, justice.
The process has been a journey that I would not wish upon anybody.
J.J. Amaya's sister was shot and killed by Union City police during a non-emergency call in 1998. A subsequent lawsuit found the officer involved was at fault. After 11 years, today, the case is finally closed.
Justice it comes with the price, and the price is one's peace and peace of mind.
Oscar Grant's family says they too are prepared for a long struggle to see justice done on his behalf.
But we're just praying and hoping that the videos, the testimony of the witnesses, and the case that the DA puts on just bring to fruition the justice that we want.
Demonstrators say they'll be outside the courthouse for the duration of this preliminary hearing. We are live outside the courthouse in Oakland this afternoon. Jesse Gary, KTVU, Channel 2 News. We'll talk again at 6 o'clock.